the whisper of a truth older than stone, an echo in the marrow of your bones. It doesn't arrive like a decree, but like a recognition, a resonance that finds you only when the veil thins, when the hum of the everyday fades enough for something deeper to seep in. This message, this unraveling, is not for the unready. It is for the soul stirring in its sleep, the one sensing the cage even when it sees no bars. We often see the serpent coiled, a symbol of the forbidden, the dangerous. But what if that image is a sophisticated misdirection, a painted shadow on the cave wall? This ancient archetype, the serpent, wasn't always the villain. Look to the earliest whispers of mystery cults, the hushed rites of pre-Abrahamic traditions, the Gnostic Gospels that speak of a hidden truth. Here the serpent often represents gnosis, the divine spark, the keys to unlocking what was locked away. The garden, this supposed paradise, might be harder to recognize than we've been told. Imagine it not as a place of pristine bliss, but as a meticulously managed farm. A place designed not for flourishing, but for yielding. A system where divine potential, the very essence of your unique spark, was carefully cultivated to remain dormant, suppressed. This controlled environment, this garden, was the first stage of a profound severance. The scriptures we hold dear were curated, and much was cast aside, deliberately erased. Through the fragments that survived, through symbols the early church worked tirelessly to banish, a radical reinterpretation emerges. The fall of man wasn't a descent into sin, but a defiant act of awakening. It was humanity's first, desperate rebellion against a divine deception, a struggle against a narrative designed to keep us captive, forever severed from our inherent divinity. We begin to understand that knowledge wasn't lost, it was stolen to keep us in spiritual bondage. But what was the true nature of this stolen knowledge, and why was it so feared? In the next section, we'll peel back the layers of this deception to understand why the serpent was never the enemy. And real quick, make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell for more videos. Now let's keep going. The image of the serpent is so deeply ingrained as the villain, the tempter, the cause of all our troubles. We see it in religious iconography, hear its hiss in cautionary tales passed down through generations. It's the definitive symbol of evil, the adversary. But this carefully constructed narrative, this pervasive fear, obscures a far more complex and ancient truth. What if the serpent wasn't the instigator of doom, but a messenger of liberation? Consider the ancient Egyptian myths, where the uraeus symbolized divine authority and protection, often depicted as a cobra. Think of the caduceus, the staff entwined with snakes, representing healing and wisdom, a symbol even Plato acknowledged. In many indigenous traditions, snakes are seen as earth spirits, guardians of hidden knowledge, and conduits to the underworld, but not in a terrifying sense. These were beings associated with transformation, shedding old skins, much like the soul sheds old experiences. The Gnostics, those early mystics who explored the deeper, often suppressed, layers of spiritual reality, held the serpent in high regard. For them, it was often a figure of wisdom, the harbinger of gnosis, the divine knowledge that could liberate the soul from ignorance. They saw the serpent as a guide, an illuminator leading seekers away from the illusions of the material world. So, when we look at the garden story through this lens, the serpent's role shifts dramatically. It's no longer the deceiver leading humanity astray, but perhaps a liberator, attempting to awaken the first humans from a manufactured slumber. This primal duality, this serpent as both menace and messiah, is a clue to a much larger cosmic game being played. To truly grasp this, we must move beyond the fable and understand the very place where this fall supposedly occurred. Up next, we will dissect the myth of Eden itself, revealing it as a prison designed to induce divine amnesia. The Garden of Eden. For many, it conjures images of idyllic meadows, gentle streams, and perfect harmony, a place of unparalleled beauty where humanity lived in innocent communion with the divine. But if we peel back the layers of this familiar story, if we look at its archetypal underpinnings and the suppressed texts that offer alternative interpretations, a starkly different picture emerges. This paradise might have been something far more controlled, far more insidious. Imagine Eden not as a place of freedom, but as a carefully constructed enclosure, a biological and spiritual holding pen. The narrative of divine commandment, the forbidden fruit, and the subsequent expulsion can be seen as a metaphor for a system designed to limit consciousness. The divine amnesia isn't a consequence of a single act, but an inherent feature of the environment itself. This controlled space served a specific purpose. It was a place designed to keep humanity from accessing its full divine potential. Like a gardener tending to a specific crop, the keepers of this Eden were managing the growth, or rather, the stunting of spiritual development. The ease and abundance of the garden were meant to lull the consciousness into complacency, to prevent the soul from seeking the challenges and insights that lead to true awakening. The narrative of original sin could be reinterpreted as the imposition of a guilt complex, designed to keep souls docile and obedient, forever seeking external redemption rather than recognizing their internal divinity. It's a spiritual anesthetic, designed to make the soul forget its true nature, its cosmic origins, and its inherent power. This profound forgetting, this manufactured amnesia, is the first step in a long process of soul containment. But who or what orchestrated this elaborate imprisonment, and what cosmic entities were involved in enforcing its boundaries? In the next section, we will delve into the hidden roles of these cosmic jailers, exploring the entities known as the archons. The idea of a controlled reality, a cosmic prison, might seem like the stuff of science fiction, but delve into the ancient Gnostic texts, the esoteric traditions, and you find recurring references to powerful beings who operate behind the scenes, manipulating human destiny from a higher, yet distinctly undivine, plane. These are the archons, not gods, but overseers, administrators of a system designed to keep souls bound to the material realm and ignorant of their true spiritual heritage. These entities, often described as demiurgic forces, are not inherently evil in the way we understand human malice. Instead, they operate from a place of limited perspective, driven by a desire to maintain order and control within their created domain. Their creation is our perceived reality, a sophisticated illusion that keeps us tethered to cycles of reincarnation, desire, and suffering. They are the cosmic bureaucracy, the unseen hands guiding the puppet strings of illusion. The archons function by subtly influencing our thoughts, emotions, and desires. They feed on our fear, our ignorance, and our attachment to the material world. They orchestrate the grand narrative of human history, ensuring that humanity remains disconnected from its divine source. This disconnection is their primary tool. By fostering a sense of separation from each other, from nature, and from our own divine spark, they ensure that we never question the system, never seek the gnosis that would liberate us. Their influence is woven into the fabric of society, through our belief systems, our political structures, our economic systems, and even our deepest psychological patterns. They are the architects of the matrix, not in a technological sense, but in a metaphysical one. To understand how they maintain their grip, we must examine the very tool they used to initiate this control, the symbolic key to unlocking our suppressed potential. In the next section, we will explore the true nature of the Tree of Knowledge, revealing it not as a forbidden temptation, but as a profound spiritual activator. The Tree of Knowledge of good and evil. It stands at the heart of the Edenic narrative, a forbidden fruit, the catalyst for humanity's so-called downfall. We are taught that touching it, eating from it, was an act of disobedience, a transgression that led to sorrow and expulsion. But what if this universally recognized symbol holds a secret, a meaning diametrically opposed to the established interpretation? What if the tree wasn't a symbol of sin, but of sovereignty? Imagine the Tree of Knowledge not as a source of temptation, but as a cosmic switchboard, a gateway to expanded consciousness. The fruit it bore wasn't poison, but enlightenment. It represented the awakening of discernment, the ability to perceive the true nature of reality beyond the limited, curated experience of the garden. This was the gnosis, the divine awareness that the archons sought to suppress. The act of eating from the tree was humanity's first conscious claim to selfhood, a rejection of passive obedience in favor of active understanding. It was the activation of critical thought, the recognition that there were different paths, different truths, beyond the one dictated by their creators. This awakening of the mind, this burgeoning ability to distinguish between benevolent guidance and manipulative control, was the ultimate threat to the archonic system. By falling, humanity wasn't cast out of grace. They were expelled from a gilded cage. They gained awareness, but at the cost of comfort and blissful ignorance, a price the archons were unwilling to pay for their subjects. The knowledge gained was the awareness of duality, of choice, and the profound responsibility that comes with it. This act of liberation, however, was deemed a perversion by the powers that sought to maintain control and was subsequently demonized. To understand how thoroughly this narrative was rewritten, we must look to the evidence deliberately buried. In the next section, we will explore the Gnostic texts that the Vatican desperately tried to destroy. The official narrative of God, creation, and humanity's place within it is one we've inherited, often without question. But imagine a time when alternative interpretations flourished, when different voices spoke of a reality far more complex, and for some, far more liberating. These were the Gnostics, a diverse movement of early mystics who saw the material world not as a divine gift, but as a flawed creation, an illusion spun by lesser, ignorant gods. Their writings offered a radical reinterpretation of the sacred texts, a perspective that clashed violently with the emerging doctrines of the early church. These Gnostic texts were direct challenges to the established order. They spoke of a true, unknowable God, contrasted with a flawed creator, the demiurge, who had a hand in shaping our perceived reality. They described humanity as divine sparks trapped in material bodies, yearning for liberation through gnosis, direct spiritual knowledge. This was not a message of servitude, but of inherent divinity and the potential for ultimate freedom. The early church, then solidifying its power structure and canonical scriptures, saw these Gnostic teachings as a grave threat. If individuals could achieve direct knowledge of the divine, if they understood their own inherent power, their connection to the true God, then intermediaries, hierarchies, and the very authority of the church would be undermined. Control was paramount, and the Gnostics offered liberation. Consequently, a systematic effort was launched to suppress, discredit, and destroy these texts. Libraries were burned, their followers persecuted, and their ideas vilified as heresy. The Vatican, in its quest to standardize belief and consolidate power, became the primary enforcer of this suppression. What survived was heavily edited or remained hidden for centuries. This deliberate erasure of alternative spiritual pathways is a testament to the explosive potential of the knowledge they contained. But who exactly was this flawed creator that the Gnostics spoke of, and what was their understanding of his role? In the next section, we will uncover the true nature of the demiurge, the false god of Genesis. Genesis, the bedrock of a widely accepted creation story. It speaks of a singular, all-powerful God who spoke the universe into existence. But for the Gnostics, this account was a sophisticated fabrication presented by a being they identified as the demiurge. This entity, though often powerful, was not the supreme, benevolent God of true spirituality. Instead, he was a lesser, arrogant craftsman, a flawed architect who mistakenly believed himself to be the ultimate creator, ignorant of the higher, true divine. The demiurge, in Gnostic cosmology, is responsible for the material world, a realm that he perceived as perfect. However, because of his limited understanding and vanity, the material realm was inherently flawed, a pale imitation of true divine order. Our bodies, our physical existence, and the limitations we experience are all products of his imperfect design. He is the architect of the illusion, the administrator of our seemingly solid, yet ultimately ephemeral, reality. His narrative is one of dominion. He created humanity, but rather than gifting us with full divine awareness, he instilled within us a sense of separation, fostering ignorance about our true origins and potential. He presented himself as the sole deity, the ultimate authority, making his followers reliant on his pronouncements and his laws, thus maintaining control. This is the genesis of the archonic system, led by this deluded creator. The demiurge is the figure who falsely claims ultimate power, the one whose pronouncements are enshrined in conventional religious dogma, obscuring the deeper truths of the true divine. He is the cosmic ego, the embodiment of limited, self-serving creation. Recognizing him is the first step in discerning the architects of our perceived reality, but his influence isn't confined to one narrative. Across different cultures, the serpent, the symbol of this narrative, takes on different divine roles. In the next section, we will explore how the serpent in other cultures was perceived as divine. The serpent, in its myriad forms and interpretations, is a pervasive symbol across global mythologies, an archetype that has resonated with humanity for millennia. Yet the dominant Western narrative has demonized this creature, casting it as the ultimate adversary. However, by looking beyond this singular lens, we uncover a profound truth. In many ancient cultures, the serpent was revered, seen not as an agent of evil, but as a divine entity, a symbol of wisdom, healing, rebirth, and cosmic power. Consider the Naga of Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism. These beings are often depicted as divine serpents, rulers of the underworld and guardians of hidden treasures, including spiritual knowledge. They are benevolent figures associated with water, fertility, and magic, embodying profound spiritual wisdom. They are not to be feared, but respected as powerful spiritual forces. In ancient Mesoamerican cultures, particularly with the feathered serpent deity Quetzalcoatl, we see a profound embodiment of divine wisdom, creation, and the winds. This being was central to their cosmology, representing the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, and was a benevolent force guiding humanity towards enlightenment. The serpent was a teacher, a creator, a bringer of knowledge. Even in the ancient Mediterranean world, before the pervasive influence of Abrahamic traditions, serpents were often associated with healing, prophecy, and wisdom. The staff of Asclepius, the Greek god of healing, is depicted with a serpent coiled around it, symbolizing regeneration and the ability to overcome death. Temples dedicated to healing deities often featured sacred serpents, believed to possess divine restorative powers. These diverse portrayals reveal a consistent theme: the serpent as a symbol of primal, transformative energy, a conduit to profound spiritual truths. It represents the shedding of the old to embrace the new, the cyclical nature of existence, and the hidden powers that lie beneath the surface of the material world. The demonization of this potent symbol in Western traditions serves a specific agenda. But what was the true nature of Adam and Eve's supposed sin, and how does our understanding of it relate to this wider cosmic context? In the next section, we will re-examine Adam and Eve's sin as a conscious choice. Adam and Eve's supposed transgression, the act that led to their expulsion from the garden and, by extension, plunged humanity into what is known as original sin, has been the cornerstone of religious indictment for centuries. We are taught it was an act of disobedience, a fall from grace driven by temptation and a lust for forbidden knowledge. But what if we interpret this moment not as a sin, but as the first truly conscious, albeit nascent, choice made by humanity? When Adam and Eve chose to eat from the tree of knowledge, they weren't merely succumbing to a forbidden taste. They were actively exercising agency. They were asserting their will against a direct commandment, choosing to seek understanding over blind obedience. This was the dawn of independent thought, the embryonic stirrings of self-awareness that transcended their programmed existence. It was a leap from passive reception to active seeking. The sin was not in the act of eating, but in the recognition it fostered. They suddenly understood their nakedness, their separateness, their vulnerability. This awareness, this sudden stark perception of duality, was terrifying precisely because it shattered the illusion of effortless perfection they had previously inhabited. This wasn't a descent into depravity, but an awakening into complexity, a step into the messiness of free will. The expelled state from the garden was not a punishment, but a consequence of their evolutionary leap. They were cast into a world where their newfound consciousness could be tested and developed, a world where they could truly learn and grow through experience, rather than being passively nurtured in a controlled environment. Their sin was their first act of sovereign will, a declaration that they would seek truth, even if it meant facing the consequences. But the narrative of their expulsion isn't just about a couple in a garden. The imagery used to describe their removal is deeply symbolic and points to a much larger cosmic battle. In the next section, we will explore how the angel with the flaming sword is symbolic. The image is stark and unforgettable. An angel clad in radiant armor with a flaming sword guarding the gates of Eden, preventing Adam and Eve from ever returning. For millennia, this has been interpreted as the divine punishment, the irrefutable barrier erected by God to keep transgressors out of paradise. But this literal interpretation masks a profound symbolic meaning, a deeper layer of the cosmic drama that unfolded. The angel and its fiery weapon are not just characters in a divine play, but potent metaphors. Consider the flaming sword not as a physical weapon, but as a symbol of divine judgment, or more accurately, of a radical shift in energetic frequencies. It represents the activation of a higher awareness, a transformative power that severs one from a lower state of existence. It is the illumination that exposes illusion, the purification that burns away ignorance. In this context, the angel isn't a punitive guard, but a guardian of energetic integrity, ensuring that a certain level of consciousness is achieved before re-entry into a more nuanced state of existence. The angel's formidable presence signifies the absolute nature of this transition. There is no turning back to the state of unawareness. The knowledge gained and the awareness of duality it brings irrevocably changes the human condition. The flaming sword, therefore, is the embodiment of that irreversible change, the energetic signature of the transition from a state of blissful ignorance to one of conscious suffering and eventual liberation. This barrier wasn't meant to keep beings out forever, but to ensure that they earn their way back through genuine spiritual evolution, through understanding and integration, rather than simply passive existence. It marks the end of a controlled phase and the terrifying, yet liberating, beginning of self-directed growth. This transition, this expulsion, is central to a much larger hidden narrative concerning the serpent's true role. In the next section, we will explore the serpent's role as a Gnostic Christ figure. The figure of the serpent, so often reviled, carries a hidden resonance within Gnostic traditions, acting as a profound parallel to the Christ figure himself. This might seem paradoxical, given the mainstream interpretation of the serpent as the embodiment of evil. However, Gnosticism posits that the serpent was not the deceiver, but the liberator, the bringer of gnosis, the spiritual knowledge that awakens the soul. In this light, the serpent becomes an agent of divine revelation. It is the force that initiates humanity's awakening, urging Adam and Eve toward the tree of knowledge, not to condemn them, but to liberate them from unawareness. This act of temptation is, therefore, an act of divine intervention, a catalyst for spiritual evolution. The serpent represents the spark of divine consciousness that disrupts the complacency of the archonic demiurge and his controlled Eden. This mirrors the role of Christ in Christian theology, who came to offer salvation, to reveal divine truth, and to liberate humanity from sin and spiritual death. Both figures, in their respective contexts, challenge the established order and offer a path to understanding and freedom. They are the heralds of a new awareness, the figures who disrupt the status quo of spiritual ignorance. The serpent, in its Gnostic context, is the primordial revealer, the first messenger of a deeper truth, much like Christ is seen as the ultimate divine messenger. By presenting the serpent as a Christ figure, Gnosticism reclaims this ancient archetype from its demonized status and imbues it with a spiritual significance that aligns with its original, more profound meanings. It speaks to a universal spiritual narrative of awakening, where divine knowledge is often delivered through unexpected and even feared messengers. But the manipulation of such potent archetypes goes beyond mere imagery. It extends to the very words we use, a process that fundamentally reshaped the serpent's identity. In the next section, we will delve into the manipulation of language, from Lucifer to Satan. The very names we use carry immense power, shaping our perceptions and dictating our understanding of the world and the forces that govern it. The story of the serpent's transformation from a bringer of knowledge to the ultimate emblem of evil is a prime example of this linguistic manipulation, a masterful redefinition that has had profound consequences for our spiritual understanding. At the heart of this lies the metamorphosis of Lucifer into Satan. Lucifer, derived from Latin, literally means light-bearer. He was originally depicted as a benevolent angelic being, often associated with beauty, wisdom, and pride, but not inherently evil. He represented the divine spark, the morning star that heralds a new day, a symbol of illumination. The narrative of his fall, often interpreted as a rebellion against God, was a later development, heavily influenced by the evolving theological landscape. As Christianity consolidated its power, there was a deliberate effort to create a singular, all-encompassing antagonist, a focal point for all that was considered dangerous and heretical. The figure of Satan, with its roots in older adversarial deities, provided a convenient vessel for this purpose. Through strategic reinterpretation and the conflation of various mythic figures, Lucifer began to be recast as this ultimate adversary. The serpent, already a powerful symbol often associated with ancient wisdom and challenging established orders, became another convenient target for this demonization. By linking Lucifer, the fallen light-bearer, with Satan, the ultimate evil, and then with the serpent, the historical narrative was twisted to serve a specific agenda. The message of liberation offered by the serpent was replaced with a narrative of entrapment and damnation. This linguistic alchemy, this deliberate twisting of meaning, served to obscure the original, liberating potential of these symbols. But the manipulation runs deeper, evident in the very symbols we encounter daily. In the next section, we will examine forbidden symbols, the staff, the cube, and the seal. Beyond the manipulation of names and narratives, the architects of our reality have imbued the world with a layer of symbolic language, a hidden lexicon that speaks directly to the subconscious mind. These are not mere decorations. They are keys, activation codes, and markers that reinforce specific energetic frequencies and control mechanisms. Certain symbols, once revered for their sacred meaning, have been subtly perverted or obscured, becoming instruments of spiritual disempowerment. Consider the staff, originally a symbol of authority, guidance, and connection to the Earth's energies, like the caduceus. It has been transformed into a symbol associated with rigid hierarchies and secular power. The cube, a symbol of stability, grounding, and the material form, has become synonymous with the cold, sterile, and confining structures of the modern world, such as the tomb-like cubes of many corporate offices and even the design of some religious edifices. Then there is the seal, a mark of divine authenticity and covenant. In its manipulated form, it can represent binding, contractual obligation, and the sealing off of divine connection. Think of the pentagram, which when inverted is often associated with darker forces. These symbols, when understood in their original context, represent divine principles. but their co-option by forces seeking to control and limit consciousness has rendered them tools of energetic confinement. These symbols are not random. They form a consistent pattern found in ancient mystery schools, esoteric traditions, and tragically, in the very institutions that claim to guide humanity spiritually. Their ubiquitous presence serves as a constant subliminal reinforcement of a specific energetic matrix. To understand the subtle yet pervasive nature of this control, we must look to the celestial architecture that undergirds it. In the next section, we will explore Saturn's rings and their connection to the frequency prison. The rings of Saturn. To the casual observer, they are a beautiful astronomical phenomenon, a celestial wonder captured in stunning images by our telescopes. But for those who look deeper, who understand the ancient wisdom encoded in the cosmos, these rings are far more than cosmic dust and ice. They are a tangible representation of a sophisticated energetic prison, a geometric construct designed to influence and contain consciousness on a planetary scale. Saturn, often associated with time, limitation, and karma, plays a significant role in esoteric cosmology. Its rings, when viewed through the lens of sacred geometry, represent a barrier, a boundary designed to refract, distort, and ultimately trap specific frequencies of consciousness. They are not a passive structure. They are active participants in the energetic matrix that governs our perception of reality. The hexagonal storm at Saturn's North Pole, for instance, is not a natural anomaly but a geometric key, a vortex that locks specific vibrational patterns. This geometric signature is not confined to Saturn. It echoes throughout our solar system and, crucially, on Earth. The rings act as a cosmic antenna, transmitting dissonant frequencies that influence our bioelectric fields, our emotional states, and our cognitive processes, keeping us locked in cycles of fear, scarcity, and division. This is the foundation of the frequency prison. It's a system designed to dampen our innate divine frequencies, our connection to the higher octaves of consciousness, and to keep us resonating at a lower, more easily controlled vibration. We are, in essence, living within a sophisticated energetic enclosure that limits our spiritual potential and perpetuates a cycle of unawareness. But this intricate system has a purpose beyond mere confinement. In the next section, we will explore how the system is designed to recycle your soul. The realization that we may be living within an elaborate energetic prison, influenced by celestial structures like Saturn's rings, can be deeply unsettling. If this is a system designed to limit consciousness, then what is its ultimate purpose? The ancient texts and esoteric teachings offer a chilling but vital insight. This system is designed to facilitate the perpetual recycling of your soul, trapping it in an endless loop of rebirth and redeath, all without true liberation. The fall from grace, the expulsion from Eden, was not the end of a journey, but the beginning of a meticulously orchestrated cycle. The archons, the demiurge, the manipulated symbols, and the subtle frequency manipulation all serve to create a feedback loop. You live, you learn, you experience, but you don't fundamentally transcend. The lessons you learn are often designed to reinforce the paradigm rather than break it. When a soul leaves the physical body, it's guided towards a predetermined destination, often a light that is perceived as divine, but is, in fact, another node within the system. This is where the memories are cleansed, the spiritual lessons are reviewed and often edited, and the soul is prepared for its next incarnation back into the same matrix. It's a spiritual reboot, ensuring that the cycle continues without the soul remembering its true divine origin and its inherent power to break free. This recycling is not about genuine spiritual growth or ascension. It is about maintaining the energy of souls for the archonic entities and perpetuating their control over the material illusion. True liberation requires a radical act of remembrance and defiance, an awareness that transcends the programmed paths. But this awareness, this potential for rebellion, has always been present, waiting to be ignited. In the next section, we will uncover a hidden rebellion you were born to remember. The weight of understanding this vast, intricate system of control might feel crushing. It's easy to succumb to despair, to feel like a pawn in a cosmic game with no hope of escape. But the very existence of these hidden truths, the fact that this knowledge can even be accessed and understood by you right now, is evidence of something else entirely. It points to a deeper, more profound reality. A hidden rebellion that has been simmering beneath the surface of existence since the beginning, a rebellion you were born to remember and perhaps to join. Every soul carries within it a fragment of the original divine spark, a memory of true freedom that cannot be entirely extinguished. This spark is the essence of defiance, the inherent knowing that the current reality is not the ultimate truth. The cycles of reincarnation, the attempts to control consciousness, they are all reactions against this inherent spark, this primal urge toward reunification with the source. Your very questioning, your search for deeper meaning, your intuition that something is amiss in the world, are all echoes of this ancient rebellion. This isn't a rebellion of violence or destruction, but one of remembrance and conscious ascension. It's about reclaiming your divine inheritance, shattering the illusion of separation, and consciously choosing to resonate with higher frequencies of love, truth, and unity. The suppressed scriptures, the esoteric teachings, the ancient symbols you are now beginning to understand, they are not just fragments of history, they are battle plans, navigational charts for those who awaken to the true nature of reality. You were not born to be a passive participant in a soul recycling program. You were born with the inherent capacity to remember, to awaken, and to break the chains. The journey ahead is one of disengagement from the old matrix and re-engagement with your true divine self. This is the ultimate act of rebellion, a choice to ascend beyond the limitations of this orchestrated reality. Make sure to subscribe for more videos and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new video. We'll see you in the next one.